After years of love, loyalty, and endless drama, Jim Jones has finally pulled the trigger. With divorce papers on the table, Chrissy is left shattered, questioning everything they built together. This isn't just a breakup, it's the downfall of one of hip-hop's most talked about couples. And the cameras caught it all for years. The love story between Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin has been one of hip-hop's most talked about roller coasters. Their relationship has been front and center in reality TV, splashed across headlines and whispered about in industry circles. But now everything has come crashing down. Jim Jones has officially filed for divorce, leaving Chrissy heartbroken. After more than a decade of struggles, sacrifices, and unfulfilled promises, what happened behind the scenes of this relationship? Why did Jim finally walk away? And how did Chrissy reach the point of devastation after fighting for so long too? Keep this love alive. Tonight, we're diving deep into the shocking unraveling of a couple that many believed were unbreakable. Let's rewind. Jim Jones and Chrissy first stepped into the public eye as a couple during the early days of Love and Hip Hop, New York, back. Then, their relationship was raw, passionate, and unfiltered, making them one of the central storylines that viewers couldn't get enough of. Chrissy wasn't afraid to speak her mind, and Jim, the Harlem rapper and Dipset icon, had that street-tough yet loyal energy that kept fans rooting for them. But even from the start, cracks were visible. Chrissy wanted stability, commitment, and a future. She wasn't just looking for fame or clouds. She wanted a ring, a marriage, and a sense of security after years of standing by Jim's side. Meanwhile, Jim seemed resistant to taking that final step. He loved Chrissy, no doubt, but marriage, that was something he always dodged, hesitated about, or found excuses to delay. This back and forth became one of the defining conflicts of their on-screen journey. Who could forget the moment Chrissy dropped to one knee and proposed to Jim herself on Love and Hip Hop? That scene shook reality TV history. A woman flipping tradition, pouring her heart out in front of the world, begging the man she loved to make it official. Jim's reaction was mixed. He didn't reject her, but he didn't exactly rush to seal the deal either. That hesitation became symbolic of their entire relationship. Chrissy always chasing commitment, Jim always holding back. Over the years, fans watched as Chrissy invested herself completely in Jim's life, supporting his career, managing behind the scenes, and standing by him through countless controversies. From financial disputes to family drama, especially Jim's mother, Mama Jones, who famously clashed with Chrissy, there was never a shortage of obstacles. Chrissy often felt like she was fighting not just for Jim's love, but also for respect within his world. Despite all the chaos, they stayed together. They laughed, they fought, they made up, and they broke down. For a while, it seemed like they were inseparable, two people who couldn't quit each other no matter how toxic things became. Fans admired their resilience, but insiders always whispered that the relationship was built more on struggle than on peace. And as the years passed without a wedding, Chrissy's patience wore thin. Behind closed doors, Chrissy reportedly grew tired of carrying the emotional weight. Friends close to her said she felt unappreciated, overlooked, and exhausted from begging for the same things over and over again. She wanted a husband. She wanted a family. She wanted proof that her sacrifices hadn't been in vain. Jim, on the other hand, allegedly grew more distant. Some sources claim he felt pressured, trapped in expectations he wasn't ready to meet. Others say his loyalty to his lifestyle, his music, and his circle always came before his loyalty to Chrissy. The turning point. Industry insiders believe the divorce filing stems from years of unresolved issues that finally reached the breaking point. The constant back and forth, the broken promises, the endless arguments sit all piled up until Jim decided he couldn't continue. And while filing for divorce might look like Jim's decision on paper, many argue that Chrissy's heartbreak started long before the legal papers were signed. When the news first broke, fans were stunned. Social media exploded with reactions. Some couldn't believe it, clinging to hope that their favorite couple would reconcile. Others weren't surprised at all, pointing out that the writing had been on the wall for years. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. Chrissy gave Jim her youth, her loyalty, her everything. And after all that, she's left with heartbreak. This is tragic, but the drama didn't stop there. Cameras reportedly caught some of the fallout. In true reality TV fashion, insiders say there's behind-the-scenes footage of Jim and Chrissy's emotional confrontations, raw, uncut, and devastating. Arguments where Chrissy allegedly accused Jim of wasting her best years, of stringing her along, of never truly committing, and moments where Jim, visibly frustrated, claimed that Chrissy never understood the pressures he was under. This isn't just about divorce, it's about two people who fought for years, only to realize that love alone wasn't enough. For Chrissy, the pain is deeper than losing a marriage she never truly had. It's about losing the dream she held on to for so long. For Jim, it's about walking away from someone who has been by his side through it all, knowing that his decision leaves a trail of heartbreak. Now, Chrissy faces the reality of starting over. After more than a decade invested in this relationship, she's left asking herself hard questions. How do you rebuild when the person you've built your life around is no longer there? How do you heal when the love you fought for ends in heartbreak? And how do you move on when the cameras, the fans, and the world are all watching? The truth is, Jim and Chrissy's breakup isn't just their story. It's a cautionary tale about love, sacrifice, and knowing when enough is enough. Sometimes, no matter how much history you share, no matter how many years you invest, and no matter how much love you give, the relationship just isn't meant to survive. And yet, the saga doesn't end here. If there's one thing we know about Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin, it's that their drama never stays behind closed doors. The divorce may be filed, but the emotional fallout, the public reactions, and the behind-the-scenes revelations are only just beginning. And as the world waits for Chrissy's response, one thing is clear: the heartbreak is real, the struggle was long, and the end of this love story will shake hip-hop culture for years to come. When the divorce filing became public knowledge, Chrissy's world reportedly collapsed. For over a decade, she had defended Jim through every controversy, stood by him through every career slump, and endured countless whispers about their relationship. But now, all of that history, the sacrifices, the loyalty, the battles seemed to vanish in an instant. Chrissy wasn't just dealing with the loss of a partner. She was dealing with the humiliation of a love that she fought so hard for, ending in a way she never imagined. According to insiders, Chrissy broke down in tears when she first saw the divorce paperwork. It wasn't just shock, it was betrayal. To her, marriage had been the finish line she never got to cross. Instead of a wedding, she got court documents. Instead of vows, she got lawyers. After years of publicly begging Jim for commitment, Chrissy felt as though the entire world was watching her ultimate heartbreak play out like a tragic finale. Those close to her revealed that Chrissy kept repeating the same words: "I gave him everything, everything, and this is how it ends." The pain wasn't just about losing Jim, it was about feeling like she wasted the best years of her life waiting for a man who never delivered on his promises. For a woman who fought so hard to hold on to love, this ending was nothing short of devastating. Social media reactions only added fuel to the fire. Fans quickly flooded Instagram and Twitter with emotional posts, some blasting Jim for his decision, others questioning why Chrissy stayed so long. Memes circulated with old clips from Love and Hip Hop, especially the moment Chrissy proposed to Jim on bended knee. The internet twisted that iconic scene into a symbol of irony: a woman begging for a marriage that would never come, only to be left behind years later. One viral comment said it all. Chrissy risked it all for Jim. She put her pride aside. She sacrificed her dignity on national television, and after everything, he left her with nothing but pain. Another wrote, "This is why women shouldn't waste their prime years waiting on a man who isn't ready." Jim showed her who he was from the beginning. But not everyone blamed Jim. Some argued that Chrissy should have walked away years ago. Critics pointed out that she knew what she was getting into when she stayed after countless delays and excuses. As one fan bluntly put it, he never wanted marriage. He told her in actions, if not in words. She stayed hoping he'd change. This is the sad result. Regardless of public opinion, one thing was undeniable. Chrissy was hurting. Those close to her say she has isolated herself, avoiding public appearances and ignoring calls from producers, who want her side of the story for future reality TV specials. For the first time in years, Chrissy doesn't want the cameras on her. She doesn't want to play out her pain for ratings. She just wants to breathe, Still, the whispers won't stop. Sources claim there's already tension brewing behind the scenes, with producers pushing to capture the fallout for a new season. They see drama, ratings, and money. But for Chrissy, this isn't just another storyline, it's her real life falling apart. The last thing she wants is for strangers to dissect her tears for entertainment. Jim, on the other hand, has remained relatively silent. Outside of the legal filing, he hasn't given public statements, fueling even more speculation. Why did he finally make this move now? Was there another woman involved? Was it pressure from his circle? Or was it simply that he grew tired of the endless arguments and emotional warfare? Until Jim speaks out, fans are left guessing. But some insiders are already whispering about the role of Mama Jones, Jim's outspoken mother. Longtime Love and Hip Hop fans know the tension between Chrissy and Mama Jones was legendary, from explosive arguments to shade-filled interviews. Their feud was one of the biggest obstacles in Jim and Chrissy's relationship. Sources now claim that Mama Jones never truly approved of Chrissy and that over the years, this lack of approval chipped away at their bond. Some even say Jim chose his mother's happiness over Chrissy's, refusing to marry a woman his mom couldn't get along with, if true. This paints an even darker picture. Chrissy spent years battling not just for Jim's love, also for validation in his family. And in the end, she lost both. Meanwhile, friends are encouraging Chrissy to focus on herself. After giving so much of her identity to Jim, they want her to rediscover her independence. Rumors suggest Chrissy has been spending time quietly working on business ventures and reconnecting with old friends, trying to rebuild a life outside of Jim's shadow. But the emotional scars remain. At 50 years old, Chrissy now faces the daunting reality of starting over after dedicating more than a decade to a man who ultimately walked away. And what about Jim? Insiders say he isn't celebrating either, while he may have pulled the trigger. On divorce, some close to him claim he's been struggling privately, wrestling with guilt and doubt. Ending a relationship of this magnitude isn't easy. Even for someone like Jim, sources describe him as frustrated but conflicted, torn between relief at finally making a decision and regret over breaking Chrissy's heart. The fallout has left fans divided. Some are calling for Chrissy to move on completely, rebuild her self-worth, and never look back. Others are hoping for a dramatic reconciliation, believing that Jim might eventually realize what he lost. After all, this isn't the first time. They've hit a breaking point. The relationship has survived countless storms before. Could this just be another chapter in their never-ending saga? Or is this truly the final curtain? Only time will tell. But what we do know is this: Chrissy, Lampkin is in pain. Jim Jones is silent, and the world is watching. Their story, once seen as an example of undying loyalty, has now become a cautionary tale about the dangers of loving someone more than they love you back. For years, fans begged Jim to give Chrissy what she wanted: a wedding, a ring, a commitment. Instead, she's left with divorce papers, tears, and memories of a love that never fully blossomed. It's a heartbreak that feels almost cinematic, except this isn't fiction. This is real life, with real consequences and real devastation. As the dust settles, the big question lingers. Will Chrissy find the strength to finally put herself first? Or will this heartbreak drag her back into the same cycle of love, pain, and struggle that defined her relationship with Jim? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain: the world hasn't heard the last of this story. The story of Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin doesn't end with divorce papers. If anything, the filing is just the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with speculation, unanswered questions, and the possibility of redemption. Or ruin. Because in the world of hip-hop and reality television, nothing stays private for long. And this breakup, it has already become one of the most talked about scandals of the year. In the days following the announcement, rumors swirled at lightning speed. Some claimed that Jim had already moved on, whispering about sightings of him with younger women at exclusive parties in New York. Others insisted that Chrissy was spotted in Miami, surrounded by friends, attempting to rebuild her confidence. And then there were the reconciliation rumors, the idea that maybe, just maybe, this divorce isn't final. After all, how many times have we seen celebrity couples fight, and then find their way back to each other? Could Jim and Chrissy really be done forever? The truth is complicated. People close to Jim say he's conflicted. Filing for divorce was a drastic step, but even he knows that walking away from Chrissy isn't as simple as signing a piece of paper. She's been there through everything: his career highs, his business struggles, his battles with the industry. Chrissy wasn't just a girlfriend, she was his backbone. And as much as Jim may want to move forward, insiders claim he's struggling to imagine a life without her. But here's the catch: Chrissy doesn't trust him anymore. To her, the filing wasn't just a legal move, it was the ultimate betrayal. Friends of Chrissy say she feels played and discarded, like all the years she invested mean nothing. And while the world may speculate about reconciliation, Chrissy herself has reportedly told close confidants that she's done begging. Those words, if true, suggest a woman who has finally reached her breaking point. And yet, when it comes to Jim and Chrissy, we've learned never to say never. Their entire relationship has been built on dramatic breakups, emotional reconciliations, and cycles of chaos. Every time the world thought they were finished, they came back stronger, at least for a little while. Could this be another round of the same? Or has the damage finally gone too far? What makes this divorce different is the public spotlight. Fans aren't just spectators, they're commentators, critics, and judges. Social media platforms are flooded with debates about who's right, who's wrong, and whether this relationship was doomed from the start. Some see Jim as the villain, a man who wasted Chrissy's best years only to abandon her in the end. Others argue that Chrissy should have left long ago, calling her desperate for chasing a marriage that was never coming. The conversation has gone beyond Jim and Chrissy. It's now about relationships, gender roles, and the harsh reality of waiting for love that may never come. Influencers, podcasts, and talk shows are dissecting the story daily, using their breakup as a cautionary tale. Ladies, never propose to a man. Never wait 10+ years for a ring. Know your worth. That's the message echoing across countless viral clips. Chrissy's heartbreak has become a cultural conversation about what women should and shouldn't accept in relationships. But for Jim, the narrative is even harsher. His image as a Harlem legend, Dipset star, and reality TV favorite is now tangled with the label of heartbreaker. Some fans say he'll never escape the shadow of this scandal, that no matter how many songs he releases or businesses he launches, he'll always be remembered as the man who broke Chrissy Lampkin's heart. And in the court of public opinion, that could be a heavier burden than any legal divorce settlement. Behind the scenes, producers are already circling like sharks. There's talk of new spin-offs, reunion specials, even a possible tell-all series focused solely on Jim and Chrissy's fallout. The entertainment industry sees pain as profit, and this breakup is gold. But the big question is, will Chrissy agree to put herself back in front of the cameras after everything she's endured? Some say yes because she deserves to tell her side. Others say no because reliving the trauma could destroy her even more. Meanwhile, speculation about Mama Jones continues to rise. Fans haven't forgotten her long history of clashing with Chrissy. Some believe Jim's decision was influenced heavily by his mother, who allegedly never wanted Chrissy in the family. If true, this means Chrissy wasn't just fighting Jim's reluctance, she was fighting his family's disapproval all along. And losing that battle may have been inevitable from the very start. As the dust begins to settle, both Jim and Chrissy face uncertain futures. For Chrissy, the road ahead is about healing. Can she rebuild her confidence after such a public heartbreak? Can she find love again at this stage in her life? Her supporters say yes. They believe Chrissy will emerge stronger, more independent, and ready to write a new chapter without Jim. But her critics, they argue she stayed too long, lost too much, and may never fully recover from the scars. For Jim, the path is equally complicated. He may have filed for divorce, but does he truly want to let go? Will he regret his decision once Chrissy begins to move on for good? And perhaps most importantly, will the public forgive him? Reputation is everything in hip-hop. And right now, Jim's is hanging by a thread. What happens next could redefine both of their legacies. Chrissy bounces back with grace and strength. She could become a symbol of resilience, inspiring women who faced similar struggles. If Jim continues down this path without addressing his choices, he risks being remembered not for his music, but for his mistakes in love. And then there's the possibility of reconciliation. As unlikely as it may seem, those who know Jim and Chrissy best warn that this story isn't over. The love between them, despite the chaos, runs deep. They've survived too many storms for anyone to count them out completely. Whether it's months from now or years down the line, there's always a chance that Jim and Chrissy will find their way back to each other, because for better or worse, their connection is undeniable. Until then, the world will keep watching. Every Instagram post, every interview, every sighting will be analyzed for clues about their future. Are they truly done? Or is this just another twist in the never-ending saga of Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin? One thing is certain, this breakup has left a mark. On them, on their fans, and on the culture itself. It's not just the end of a love story, it's the end of an era. And no matter what happens next, the legacy of their relationship will live on, reminding everyone that sometimes love is messy, painful, and devastating. But it's also unforgettable, because when two people fight this hard for this long, their story doesn't just fade away. It becomes history. And Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin's history, full of passion, struggle, heartbreak, and resilience, will never be forgotten. If you've been following Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin's story from the very beginning, no, this breakup isn't just another celebrity headline. It's a saga that's been building for over a decade. From proposals on reality TV to explosive fights with Mama Jones, 2 years of waiting for a wedding that never came, their love has been as dramatic as it has been heartbreaking. But now, with divorce papers filed and Chrissy left devastated, the question remains, do you believe this is truly the end? Or is there still a chance that Jim and Chrissy could find their way back to each other? I want to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Are you Team Jim, Team Chrissy? Or do you think they're both victims of a toxic love story? And don't forget, you enjoyed this deep dive into one of hip-hop's most talked about couples. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel.